Welcome to Tail Learn Code. Here there will be tales about software development, learning from each other, code to build solutions. And now your host, Chad Green.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me. Yes, exactly. Technology is great. Today's been a fun day with technology and streaming. It was interesting. Sure enough, I've been streaming now for 6 hours.
Oh my gosh.
But I actually started earlier in the day. And right as I was getting ready to actually start writing some code, my computer crashed on me.
Of course.
And then by the time I got back up, I had to actually do a work call. I had a meeting. And I had an interview during lunchtime. And Skype apparently went down. Or not Skype. Twitch went down. So it was like if you were already broadcasting, you were good, but you couldn't start a new broadcast. So it's just been an interesting day.
It's one of those days, yeah.
Yes.
It's Wednesday, long weekend coming up.
Yes. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a speaker. I'm really looking forward to you. Grant, unfortunately, won't be able to come personally up here. But when I saw you submit it, I was really excited about it. So for those who know, I met Kara last year at CrowdStrike. It was funny. We did a workshop, or not a panel of how to be a speaker. And at the time, Kara was the newbie speaker. I don't think you're so much a newbie speaker anymore.
No, not so much anymore. I've been given a couple of talks since then.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I'm sure we'll talk about your talks later, but your introduction to CSS Grid. So I attended the talk at CodeStock, and part of the reason why I picked it was because even me, a true back end developer, you don't want me in the front end. I got a lot out of that was pretty cool. I didn't realize you could do that with CSS.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So let's start off with beginning. I mean, so let's talk about. I mean, who are you? I mean, what do you do, and what makes you tick?
I'm Kara, obviously. I live in Nashville, or just outside of Nashville now. I just moved, and I'm a software engineer at CrowdStrike. We are a cybersecurity company that stops breaches. So I've worked remote even before all this craziness, and I love it. I've been there for a year and a few months now. And I'm on their UX team, so I help make the product look all nice. Mm-hmm. But before I got into tech, I actually was pursuing a career as a professional ballerina. And then I worked as a music publicist for a few years and got very burnt out, had no work-life balance. And that's how I kind of landed in tech. I went to a boot camp and worked as a developer for a couple of years and then landed my job at CrowdStrike.
It's funny. I mean, there's plenty of people who move from music to software development. I don't think I ever met someone who's moved from a ballerina to software development.
Yeah, it's a crazy move, and it's just so funny, like how many similarities there really are.
Yeah. That's why. Now, were you a college educated ballerina or?
So I grew up doing ballet, and when I was 17, I moved to New York City by myself to do a traineeship program, which is kind of like the first step in becoming a professional. And that's when I kind of realized, I kept getting injured, and I was trying to make a decision if I wanted to go to college for ballet, or if I wanted to do something else. And I was like, I keep getting injured. I should probably have I don't know. I was just kind of falling out of love with ballet at that point. So I was like, I'm going to try a different route and go to school, but I ended up going for public relations, and I'm really glad I did. I continued ballet a little bit my freshman year. I was a guest artist with the company out in Tennessee, but it kind of made me realize, I want a college experience. I want to go to college for 4 years and not have to worry about dance on the side. So right. I'm going to take a break from it. Yeah. No, I can understand that, especially when you said you were getting injured a bunch, and I could definitely put a damper on something like that. Yeah.
Because obviously, I mean, it's not like software development. If I hurt my leg, it's no big deal, right? But it's obviously ballet. If you hurt your leg, you're not doing ballet.
Yeah, it's crazy. Really,
or you're hurting yourself worse, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, I mean, that's pretty cool that you did the, you know, the music, publicity stuff. So
Yeah,
in Nashville.
was.
So, I mean, you're right there at the heart of everything.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I went to Belmont, which is a school that's really known for its music business program. A lot of students go for the music industry, and I wanted nothing to do with it at first. I was like, I didn't even know, even though I'm from here, I didn't realize that Belmont had this.
Hmm.
Like everybody knew it as a music school. I was just kind of going because I wanted to come back to Tennessee. And I got drawn in and started doing internships, and it was really, really fun. I really appreciate my time doing music PR. It taught me a lot of things, but it just doesn't, it wasn't a long-term career for me.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I can imagine how cutthroat that is. And, so yeah, I can definitely see, you're too nice of a person. That much I know.
Thanks.
But so no, cool. So what got you interested into speaking?
When I was coming into learning my boot camp and everything, my friend and I started a chapter of Tech Ladies, which is a national organization. And because I was really passionate about showing others that you can come from these random career paths and still be able to succeed in tech. Speaking kind of came along with that. I was actually pushed to speak at my previous job. We had weekly lunch and learns, and every person had to give a talk. And I had never given a talk before. I took speech class in college. I was terrified of it. But because of having to do that talk, I was like, you know what? I can teach more people about this. Like maybe something that I say and the way I put it resonates with somebody. And plus seeing, I would have loved to see someone else that came from such a crazy career path speaking. So I was like, I can be that person for other people that, shows that you can do ballet or do music publicity, something completely random, and still be really successful in this career.
Yeah. No, so I'm curious because, as you well know, one of the hard parts about running a conference is finding women speakers and such. I mean, what is your advice to women who, especially the ones who say, "Well, I can't speak," right? I mean, what do you say about that?
My biggest fear especially at CodeStock, because that was my first conference ever, I was nervous that somebody was going to ask a question that I didn't know, and it would make me seem like, oh, she doesn't really know what she's talking about. But the thing is, no one really knows everything about what they're talking about. They know a lot, but they may not know every single question. And it's okay to go up there and say, if someone asks you a question you don't know, you can say, hey, I don't really know that, but let's look into it after the talk. And that's kind of what helped me get through it, is that you don't have to know everything. And I would love to see more female speakers out there and giving talks about different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure enough. I mean, that reminds me of one of the advice I always give people is that the audience actually wants you to succeed, and they'll help you a whole lot. But I know. I mean, sure enough. I mean, I've been speaking for years. I still get nervous every time I get up there and speak. Right. Which is another thing. Everyone's like, "What do you mean?" It's like I again, for me, it's just my my time to just geek out in front of people, right? And that's why I enjoy speaking. But so I mean, so that's great advice for women. What, I mean, do you think you have any advice for conference organizers, things that we could do more to help that situation?
I think just broadcasting it in the right areas. There's amazing women in tech groups, like Tech Ladies is one of them. Just reaching out to them and broadcasting your message, trying to get it out as far as possible. Reaching out to local meetup groups. Like now, Tech Ladies does online events only, so I kind of stepped back from that, but I'm helping out organize a Nashville Women Programmers, which is a women in tech meetup. And so just reaching out to various groups like that and sponsoring their meetups, doing stuff like that, it really shows that you want to be part of the community and that you're interested in having them come speak at your event.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's I would say that's why. I mean, sure enough, that is part of the reason why I do. I mean, like we have Tech Ladies here in Louisville, but it's a different Tech Ladies. I think you're part of a national organization. Ours is separate from everything.
Yeah.
Although right now it's been a hiatus, and I've been trying to get.
Ours has been too.
Well, I personally have to be careful because I'm like, because of course I always joke I'm the token guy on the committee, but because I run so many other groups, it's so easy for me to just take over. And of course, I'm very cautious of that. I don't want to just take over because I mean I just want to be there to support. But yeah, so I'm sure enough. I mean we've done that. Sure enough, I'll add in there. The other great thing is there's Global Diversity CFP Day, and I did that this year, and that was like one of the best things I've done in years. I just had so much fun with it. And sure enough, one of the people who attended, who was a lady of color, and she submitted, and she'll be speaking at Code PaLOusa. It'll be her first time speaking. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to reach out and reach more people.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, and for anyone watching, I mean, it really was one of the best days I've had. I mean, it was a very busy day for me because I pretty much ended up running the whole day, but it was just so great, right? I mean, I was talking to people who are marginalized in the industry, and and I think on the flip side, it was great for them to see a white guy, who's actually trying to help out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's cool. So, well, I mean, so let's talk a little bit more. I mean, well, I was gonna say, so your group is I was gonna talk more about your women in tech group.
So we've taken a month off. We're gonna have another meetup. We've been doing virtual meetups since, April now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of, especially with Tennessee's back on the rise of cases, so we're gonna keep it virtual for the foreseeable future, but we're still trying to make it as best as we can do with networking and chatting with everybody still trying to make it seem like an in-person event.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like for Code PaLOusa, we're really going on our way to do that, but so what have you been trying to do to make it more personal?
We've been doing like little fun things. So normally at our in-person events, we have everybody kind of introduce themselves, say if they're a student or if they're looking for a job or hiring. So we've tried to continue that into our virtual events while everybody's joining, having people like say those still on the chat, be like, hey, I'm Kara. I work at CrowdStrike. We're hiring, blah, 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 or whatever is happening. And then we'll throw in like a fun question or something like, I think I did, what's your favorite emoji one time? Just to try to get people talking with each other and not just sitting behind their keyboard.
Yeah, no, I think it's some great advice. I mean, not just for a women technology group, I think for most, I mean, it's, I've been talking to folks all over the country who, have the same problems, trying to keep the groups going and engaging and I know people have a hard time, getting the numbers they were getting before. Even my groups. I mean, my groups are still quote unquote successful, but I mean we're getting like a third of the people we were getting before.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Well, at the same time, I've had some people so excited that we're doing virtual meetups now because they're like, "Oh, I'm a parent, I'm a mom, and I normally can't come to events, and it's so nice to be able to let them experience that too because now they don't have to travel somewhere." So
Yeah.
It kind of is like the good and the bad.
Oh no, yeah, definitely agree with that. And plus, I mean, the other thing is it doesn't have to all be like from Nashville, right? I mean, it's the other benefit of being online.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was talking about earlier tonight. I mean, I attend groups all over the world right now because I can. All right, it's a couple of weeks ago I was attending a group in England. I wouldn't normally be able to attend a group in England. So that's awesome. So let's move back to your your career and everything. I mean, what do you find exciting? With either your job or working in tech in general.
I think the most exciting thing about working in tech is just that it's always changing. Which when I first got into this area, I was so overwhelmed by that. I was like,
Sure.
oh, I just attempt to master this framework, but now everybody's saying this framework's the cool one and all this. And it's kind of like, it's good and bad. So it's like, you can get overwhelmed with it, but then it's also really neat because you're always going to be learning. And that's kind of what with PR, I kind of hit a wall because I felt like I was doing the same thing every day, always reaching out to journalists, always trying to get these interviews. And I just felt like it wasn't really mentally challenging for me anymore. So I like that I can do stuff and I'm like mentally exhausted at the end of the
Hmm.
day. Like it's a great feeling. Like I feel like I worked so hard and I'm constantly learning, which is what I really love.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. But on the flip side, I mean, what are some of the challenges you have to deal with?
Challenges. So it was for me, it was unique coming to an all remote team and something that I was really nervous about. Because it's you can't just turn around to somebody and talk to them. But it's really pushed me to up my communication even more. And I feel like that's really translated in talking to people on Twitter that like try like keeping in touch with people I talk to on Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, that's been interesting for me. I really love being remote now. I actually posted on Dev about it, about how the first couple of months I really hated it though. I was so not used to it at all. And like I'm an introvert, so I love being at home, but it was just like I'm home all the
Yeah,
time.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
But I love it now, so it's been great.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, so I've been working from home for at least in a partial sense for years now. Um, but like 2 weeks ago, I spent the whole week at home, and Friday evening came up. I'm like, I've got to get out of the house, right? And
Uh-huh.
I just took a drive. I didn't actually go anywhere, but it was just a matter of just actually getting out of the house because I mean it can be too much.
Yeah, that's been me now, especially with everything going on. I'm like, I'm gonna take my trip to the grocery store so I get out of the house with
Hmm.
my mask on.
Oh yeah. So excuse me. I've been talking for 6 hours.
You're fine.
I mean, so along with that, I mean, how do you balance your work life and your personal life, right? I mean, how do you find that balance?
So I really try to, especially being at home, there's a tendency for people who are working from home to always be working. Your home is your work. So you're always tempted to open up your laptop and start working again. And that was the thing that was really, that happened a lot when I worked in PR. There was no work life balance. So I would have to answer emails late at night. Um, so I've really tried to set a line of once I'm done working, my laptop's closed and it stays in my office. And on the weekends, I'll shut my laptop off so I'm not even tempted. But I try to not to take it out of my office. And even though sometimes I am bad and I'll sit on the couch and work like today, but I usually do try to sit in my office and that's where I work. And my office now doesn't have a door, but before when I was in my apartment, I had a door and I'd shut the door and I'm like, okay, this is my office space. And I honestly try not to go into my office if I'm not working. So kind of to help set that barrier.
Hmm. No, and sure enough, that's really strong advice that you see a lot for how to work from home, right? Have that separate space, cut off. So one of my guys, at 5 o'clock or thereabouts. Sometimes he'll stay online a little bit longer, but 5 o'clock he stops, and then because he spends time with his family. He said there are times because he's got something really deep and he wants to so he might get back online a little bit later on. But again those are that's good to hear you do that because I mean it's that's the hard part about working from home. It's so easy
Yeah.
to not do that. A perfect example, I was having a conversation with someone at Microsoft, and he was talking about how that was a problem Microsoft folks were having, was especially their single guys, and he particularly said the single guys who they didn't know where to go because I mean again we were talking about people in Seattle where it's even the worst. Well, New York ended up being the worst of anywhere, but the first place it was so bad, and so they were having people work 60, 70, 80 hours because they just couldn't stop. And I didn't get a comment on the chat. I didn't drop any names. I just said someone at Microsoft. The joke is, I don't know if you see the chat or not. Actually, I forgot to share my screen so you would see it.
Oh, you're fine.
Here, if I do that, there now you should see it also. But It has to be someone who has a tendency to drop names, and we joke him about about that. So, hence the comments. But I did not drop a name. But but yeah. So also, I mean, along with that, I've heard several people say this. Quarantine work is not the same thing as remote work, because it is definitely different right now.
I think it's really important, especially now, to set those time limits of 9 to 5 is my work time. After that's home time. Just because it's so crazy right now with everything going on, you need that mental break from work, and you need to take some time for yourself. And take relaxing is still productive because you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You need that time.
Exactly. I'm sure. I mean, how has the pandemic been treating you? How you been holding up with all that?
I'm okay. Life, I mean, because I was working from home before, life doesn't seem too different. Especially since the only thing that's really changed for me is I love going out to eat at restaurants. So it's been different not having to go out. Now stuff in Tennessee is slowly opening, but I'm still trying to limit my time. It was actually really funny. My husband and I went to a town that's about 30 minutes away to go pick up a Nintendo Switch. And it was totally different. It was like nothing happened. Nobody was social distancing. We went to a restaurant and I just felt so uncomfortable. I was like, we got to go. I can't sit in here. So it's crazy how now I'm just like, oh, there's too many people around.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, so we don't eat a whole lot, but we have been a couple times. And of course, I'm a little bit paranoid. I wear the mask all the way up until the time the food is delivered. And I take off the mask for it to eat. Of course, I mean, you're not surrounded because they have to have the social, can't have two tables next to each other and such. Yeah. But you see everyone else walking in with no mask and everything. I'm like, I can't do that.
I know. I just finally bought another mask too because I was like, I need more.
Luckily, my wife gets, they give them mask out. They just keep on giving them more masks. So we always have free masks from UPS. So that always works well.
That does.
So, well, here let's talk about your two presentations. So we already alluded to one. So I mean, one of the ones you're doing is the introduction to CSS Grid. I mean, obviously we kind of know what the takeaway is, but I mean, what is the takeaway out of that?
For me, it's CSS Grid. When I first learned about it, I was so blown away by it because it makes what we're already trying to do with page layouts so much more simple. It makes it more accessible for others because you're not layering in all these divs to try to get Flexbox or tables to work anymore. So I really think it's changing the game, and I'm surprised it's been out for, I think, over 2 years now. And I feel like it's still not widely known about. So I'm just kind of like advocating for it because I love it so much.
Oh yeah. Well, I gotta say, I recommend that talk to even managers and such, because like I said, I learned a lot from that talk. I remember I came home from that, and like the next workday, I was talking to my front end developer and asked, so are we using this, or are you thinking about using this, and help me speak more intelligently.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
You don't want me developing front ends because I don't. Mine are not pretty. I'm definitely a back end developer. Let me give you the APIs you need.
See, I'm like, I'll leave the back end developer to all of them. I can't do that stuff.
Although my code, my stuff is pretty in a different way, right? It's so. And then so your other session, from Tutus to tech, right? So lessons learned from changing careers, right? Again, pretty obvious what the point of that talk is, but I mean, obviously this is something pretty important to you. I mean, so I mean, again, what are people going to get out of that talk?
Yeah, so I'll kind of tell the story of how I went from ballet to PR to tech, and basically what I've learned from each career and directly translates them to how that's a strength that from my past career that really helps me in tech now. And I kind of I give all those examples, and I kind of go into why we have this stigma of only wanting to hire people who have CS degrees, and why you really should open up your eyes to developers from non-traditional backgrounds.
So you said this is more geared towards the folks who are trying to get into tech, or folks like myself, who are hiring people?
Honestly, it's both. So my idea for it is, if you're coming from a non-traditional background, I want you to be able to sit in my talk and realize like what strengths you have from your past careers and how to translate those into tech and into your interviews. But then if someone's a manager listening to my talk, I want them to see, oh, she's taken these strengths from ballet and PR and they really do apply to tech. I need to actually look into all these other people who have non-traditional backgrounds and see what strengths they can pull from their past careers.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll tell you, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this, but the big reason why we picked this talk, so traditionally, again, I have to see what happens this year because of things being different. But traditionally, we have a lot of folks who are brand new in the technology. So in Louisville, we have what's called Code Louisville. It's not a boot camp because that's not really the right way to put it, but it is a free program for people to learn how to program to become developers. And most of the folks going through it are they're working on their second or third or even fourth career, right? And the really cool part, it's a lot of like wait staff and stuff who are really trying to get a better station in life, right? So that was the biggest reason why I picked this talk, because I thought here's someone who has made that transition, who's been successful at it, so for people to be able to hear that from although like I say, they have a good they work really well with getting good mentors and everything. But, most of those mentors have been doing it for a long time, right? Whereas you're still newer into technology. Well, you've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, I guess now.
4 years, yeah.
Yeah. So so the heads up of why I picked that talk, right? And I do expect that you will see a lot of folks who who aren't even in there yet. They're just learning how to become.
I'm glad.
So and like I said, that organization is very important to me. I don't run it. I don't but I help as much as I can. To include, awesome. We've always worked out deals with them to get as many of their students in there, because obviously, even this year with it's only 150 this year because of the pandemic, but it's still a lot of money to some folks. So we've always worked on ways to get them as many tickets as we can.
I think that's great.
So I love having them around. It gives a lot of things. One, it gives usually younger blood in there. But sure, it gives a lot of diversity, and was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? I remember standing up in front of the keynote and looking around, getting ready to introduce the keynote speakers. And I was looking around, I saw a lot of diversity in the group, and I made a comment of how much diversity we have now than when Code PaLOusa started, and I truly believe Code Louisville was a big reason for that. Because like I said, it was getting those non-traditional folks into software development. So
and I know when I came into tech, I was given an opportunity to go to a conference for free in Nashville because I was a student, and that's what made me, because I didn't go to conferences for PR; those don't exist. So it was kind of like my first intro to it, and it was an amazing opportunity. So I think giving back to other students and letting them come to conferences and network is an awesome thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, so I'm really looking for. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun doing that talk, because I think you're getting a lot of good questions from that.
Thanks so much. I'm so sad I can't be there in person because of everything. I spent a couple of summers in Louisville for ballet. I used to do summer intensive at Louisville Ballet School, and so I was like so excited to go back and see my old areas. But it'll be just as fun online.
Yeah. Probably be as fun as possible, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you're a bourbon drinker, but obviously bourbon you'll have to find your own bourbon. But although you're right across the border, so it's not that hard to find bourbon, I'm sure.
No, yeah, we got a bunch of places down here.
Yeah. So moving back to to work and such. I'm curious. Obviously CSS Grid CSS Grid. For some reason, that sounds funny in my head. But obviously you're really passionate about that. But I mean, is there something else that's newer or something else that you've really been interested in recently?
So right now, I've really been focusing on just kind of honing in on my JavaScript skills. My job before this I was a web developer, so I was mainly making marketing sites, and JavaScript scared the crap out of me. Anytime I had to put something in JavaScript, I was like, oh no, this is going to be horrible. And I've been working with it at my current job. That's mainly what I do is write JavaScript. So I've been really trying to hone in on those skills and dive more deep into, we use Ember as our framework. So diving into that, and they're coming out with, or they came out with a new version called Octane, which is amazing. And so I'm just trying to consume as much as I can about it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, I've heard of Ember before, but I really don't know anything about it. I love the comment. JavaScript was designed to scare people.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, what makes Ember different than the other frameworks?
Some people come into, when they're learning Ember, especially at first, in the way it used to be designed, Ember is very specific about what it wants you to do. And some people like that and some people don't. I really like it because there's no guessing. When you're looking at a file, like especially old legacy code, you're like, oh, I know what it's doing and what's happening here, and what I need to do. But the new version of Octane is just, I think the learning curve is a lot easier to learn for Octane. You can see where it pulls from other frameworks and enhancing things, and I've been really loving it so far. I've been having to translate some of our I'm working on a legacy app right now and translating it into Octane, and it's been great to work with.
Yeah. Well, it's being that it's more just prescriptive. It's probably what's easier to learn, right? And yeah. I mean, one of the problems I have is a lot of things have become less prescriptive, right? And they want to be that way, and there are times I'm like, will you just tell me how to do it? Right? I don't want 10 different ways. Just tell me the one way to do this, right? And because of course, in my mind, especially where I'm at, it's well, if there's 10 different ways, I have to figure out which is the best way to do it, and if I waste too much time trying to figure out what the best way is. No, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's fun because I learned Ember at my boot camp, but that was back in 2016. So it's been fun relearning it and diving back into it again.
Also, it's JavaScript, so there's probably been 20 different versions of it since then.
Yeah, it's very different from when I learned it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't do JavaScript. One, because
I'm learning to love JavaScript. We still have kind of the hate-love relationship, but I'm leaning more on the love side these days.
Yeah, no, it's earlier this year I was learning some Angular, and it just made me realize why I don't like dealing with JavaScript. Even though it was more, I mean, because it was TypeScript, it was more what I liked, right? But I was like, oh, please no more of this.
Yeah, TypeScript's the next thing on my list to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I again, for a JavaScript transpiler, I liked it, right? Because again, for me, comments are it's tolerable. So for me, again, because I'm a back-end developer, I do C# and so it was more natural to me, just to see the way how TypeScript worked. So awesome. So sure. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I mean, I guess my last question. I mean, any last perspectives or anything you want to pass along?
Just anybody that's watching that is saying, I don't think I could speak at a conference. Just submit a CFP. You don't even have to have the talk fully fledged out. Like I said earlier, the way you say something, the way you put something could make someone else, make it completely click for them finally. So even writing a blog post, doing a conference, just put yourself out there and do it. It's so rewarding, and just, you never know how it's going to affect others.
No, that's a great piece of advice. I love that. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate this. Really look forward to I mean, this will be your first time at Code PaLOUsa. hopefully next year you'll come back and you'll get to experience the real Code PaLOusa, right? It's
Yeah.
Louisville's not Nashville, but I tell you what, it's a pretty darn good city.
I still love it. It's so
Yeah.
nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.